sky so far away tonight, but I can't lose this war, get a pride of a falling night. Thought that I was fit to fight, for us to be. You gave me life for loving me. Tell me, where did we go so wrong? The sky so far, but I can't lose it. The sky so far, but I can't lose it.
Greetings, friends. Welcome back to Wednesday night, Role-Playing Unlimited Out of Character. We're so glad you could join us live here on the stream. Welcome back, Valthuris. And joining me here, as always, we have Evil Dawn. What's up, brother?
Hey, how's it going? Wow, new night, new time. Well, same time, new night. This feels kind of weird.
Yeah, I had to catch myself for a second. I almost said Thursday, even though I kept saying in my head over and over, Wednesday. I don't know what day it is. What's up, Jason? How you doing?
Doing outstanding, and Wednesday is always the answer, no matter the question. That's Wednesday Addams, that is.
I was going to say, that's not true, because I know your answer to a question back in the day used to be only on Thursdays.
It would still be Wednesday Addams.
And joining us also on voice chat, but not on video, we have J-Man himself playing Nadir in the Baldur's Gate campaign. Say what's up, brother. Joining us later on in the stream will be Justin as Nadir, the Tiefling. Apparently not here yet, so... Anyway, we will continue... Oh, what's up, Justin?
What's going on, everybody?
Hello, hello. We are going to jump right into our first question here, and I believe Grelix has them written down. So why don't you go ahead and fire away with the first one there. I think this was my question.
Yes, it was actually your question. The first question here is, do you allow real-world politics to influence your gaming and or entertainment choices? Why or why not?
I'm going to take the safe answer and go last. So why don't we start with Jason?
Oh, this is a touchy subject, not only for me, but I'm sure for a lot of people. I do not let real-world politics into my game at all. If you want to have all those discussions, we can go out of game and go hang out somewhere and do something else, but I do not want... I don't even like the tiniest little things to come in there, because somebody's going to get offended, somebody's going to get upset, and then it just waterfalls and snowballs from there and gets worse and worse and worse.
It certainly can.
Yep. And I agree with Jason on that. Is the fact that yeah, I mean, because you are hanging out with a bunch of friends, you're hanging out with people that you hang out with all the time, so you would hope that you have similar interests and similar beliefs and political backgrounds and such, but you never know. And one small argument of he said, she said, or your side is wrong and my side is right could be a breakdown of an entire game, entire friendships. I've seen it happen on Facebook all the time with family members, with friends that I've been friends with for a very long time. When they find out my political beliefs, versus their political beliefs,
it's a shame.
It gets really messy.
It really is. It really is a shame just how bad it can come to that. And somewhere along the way, we seem to have lost track of the commonly understood etiquette between all of us is at the dinner table, you don't discuss religion and politics. And granted, we're not always having dinner together while we're gaming. Some gaming groups do it during the morning time, during the midday. I remember when I worked Graveyard, we were gaming from like 9 a.m. till noon or something. That was what we had to do. But we never really talked about it. But somewhere along the way, that seems to have kind of gotten lost. And I can see how certain people would love to have that as a way to enhance their escapism, and other people would prefer to keep it entirely separate because it prohibits the very escapism that they seek to achieve.
Well, if you look 20 years ago, when we first started gaming and such, if we had a political discussion, okay, the situation was not that volatile. You had your Republican beliefs, your Democratic beliefs, your independent beliefs, and this and that, and people had the ability to talk about it, and and it stayed within your little group. Now, the political situations are exploding. You've got very vocal Republicans, very vocal Democrats, very vocal
liberals,
independents. Plus, there's been a change in power, but who's people who don't think there was a change in power, but people who, and if you just look on Facebook for about 15 minutes and all the name calling back and forth because of my belief is right and your belief is wrong. And if you don't believe the same thing that I believe in, it gives me the right to call you names or try to make you feel bad for believing in what you believe in.
Not to get too vulgar with it, but that instantly reminds me of the old George Carlin bit, referencing a very similar situation except about religion. Do you believe in God? No. Boom. Dead. Do you believe in God? Yes. Do you believe in my God? No. Boom. Dead. My God has a bigger dick than your God. It's very true.
Yeah, that's exactly true. I mean, you go back to the old days, and opinions were just that. They were opinions. And in today's world, I think we've taken a couple of steps backwards with social media, even though this is our medium here. We've gone a couple steps backwards. Information travels way too fast. And it may not be accurate, or opinions are presented as fact. And that distorts everything, whether it be opinion or fact.
Well, I remember also being younger, when you had a guy on the news, Walter Cronkite, who would sit there and just read the news. No opinions, no spin, no nothing. Read the news.
That's what you want.
And then afterwards, it gave you the opportunity to make your own judgments and to make your own, fact-finding for it. Versus today, where you have, you have Fox News, which is very Republican, and you have MSNBC and CNN, which are very Democrat, and it's like they're going to spin all the stories to make it fit into their niches.
Now, I will say, in reference to your comment about just spend 15 minutes on Facebook and look at all the name calling, go to the Roleplaying Unlimited Facebook page. You will see none of that, and you can spend hours there just looking through all kinds of useless things that we collectively put up, whether it's part of my collectibles. You can see all this stuff here on the wall behind me. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm a huge hoarder of all kind of things that I like to collect. And I post pictures of that, favorite music, fun facts about previous campaigns, our Q&As we tend to post on the Facebook in the week leading up to the show that we're doing right now, just as a means to get more people involved and get more answers. And in that respect, we got quite a few of them this week, but let me just define my position in that, the question that I put forth. For me, it's kind of ambiguous, and I know that's kind of all my answers. I always can try to ride a middle ground between everything. I'm lawful, neutral, chaotic, good. The first part is always flexible. I'm generally a pretty cool guy, I think. As far as politics in the games, I try not to use current politics. Previous politics, things that we supposedly have learned from World War II, World War I, Civil War, Old West, things of that nature, whether it's politics, whether it's drawing off of the real world as it was, I do like to use historical politics and historical fact as means to influence the saga. It's exactly what George Lucas did in building Star Wars and what every great writer does. I mean, art imitates life, imitates art, and vice versa every single day of the week. So that's kind of how I try to do it. I think staying away from the current topics is the best way to go, because when you focus on that, it makes it impossible to transfer yourself from your 9 to 5 Monday through Friday self to the 6 to 10 p.m. gamer character that you're trying to play, because you're just constantly caught up in that same quagmire of, okay, so now I've left blue versus red and I'm coming into the game, and how come half the characters have blue shirts on and I'm wearing a red one and this guy's wearing a red one, or vice versa, and it's just, you never get away from it.
Yep. And Justin, what do you think? Because you're running a campaign right now. You know, is that something that influences your campaign, or is it something that you would allow to influence your campaign?
Fortunately, I'm currently running a module, so it's an older module written probably early 2000s, so not a lot of that really bleeds into it. But I straddle the line on that. Sometimes I just don't want any of that to bleed into my games, but other times, especially if the players kind of want to have that going on, then I'm amenable to bringing that in and letting them play that out.
Now, Dan, would you, like in your Enemir campaign, because I know we played a lot where our characters have had a lot of influence of things going on, and we never really got into the whole political side of it, but would you put together a game where there was a usurper, or there was a challenge of democracy, or a challenge of a new power structure in a game setting?
I feel like we kind of did that already just recently with the Enemir Gears, Griffs, Guns campaign, because a large part of that, and I wasn't trying to draw off of current events, I was taking a Civil War class at the time, so I was using a lot of those events, which unfortunately have a lot of parallels to the here and now, so I understand how there was confusion. I know several people were, I don't like to get into the politics while I'm in the middle of the game. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not using today's politics, I'm using 165 years ago, but it's somewhat similar. But we did have a lot of that, and we resolved it in a way that I feel was suitable for all parties, because as the GM, I created a...
We're running into some technical difficulties with Jans.
Oh, really? Am I cutting out there?
Yeah, you're freezing up, you're bopping in and out a little bit.
Oh, shoot. Well, hopefully that's not translating through on the stream, but in any case, we shall proceed. With the Triple G villains, what I did was create a large assortment of people in political power. So they were able to challenge the characters on numerous levels as they progressed through the region that we were playing in. And in Don's case, because he was playing an assassin, I of course created the anti-assassin character to challenge him. And we resolved it in a way that was satisfactory for both sides, I feel, in that all of the villains were brought together in one place, and your characters just annihilated them in an epic battle that you guys got a lot of gear, got a lot of XP, and had the satisfaction of we've now beaten this part of the plot and we can move on to what's next.
I think political intrigue and modern or present day politics are two different things. And as long as we don't inject our own opinions into what it is, I think it's a fun plot line to follow, especially when you're dealing with bloodlines of this royal family, that royal family. This is a potential for the royal family. These people, here comes the bastard son out of the woodwork, or daughter, however, whatever it is. And, these games are our escapism. And I know we've thrown that word around a lot, but that's
true.
really what it is, especially Don and I think we're the older gamers here, and our generations we really like to get away from that stuff sometimes because we see it everywhere else, and we want to escape it.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, and on our Facebook page, my wife Gail answered the question. Never. I judge my entertainment by whether I might or do enjoy it, not on which candidate or causes they support or don't support.
And see, I love that Gail answered the other side of the question, because I intentionally made it a little vague in that if you are running a campaign, it applies to you, whether you're playing in a campaign, it applies to you, but also your entertainment choices. Because that is something that I am 100% with Gail on, because if I allow myself to go down that path, I can't enjoy anything anymore. As soon as I find out how people feel about things and how they're using their celebrity platform to endorse this politician or this particular belief, it instantly destroys a project for me. I know I am as susceptible to that as anybody else, so the only way I can do it is to just avoid it entirely. I don't read what they say, and if I do, I try my best to just let it go by, because I have to appreciate the entertainment. I refuse to let Episode 8 ruin the entire Star Wars franchise for me. I've been reading so much still to this day. I mean, how old is that movie now? That movie's already 4 years old, and people are still, it ruined the entire franchise. And think back 20 years ago, 1999, Episode 1, ruined the whole franchise. Star Wars will never be the same. Now the prequels have new appreciation. New fans are coming to appreciate what they are and what they add to the saga. I have no doubt that 15, 20 years from now, they're going to be looking back at the sequel trilogy in the same fashion. I would appreciate if they would hurry up so we can enjoy it together, rather than me having to be in my 60s before I can enjoy the stuff that came out now with everybody else.
Well, I'm also looking back, part of this question hits a little bit too. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the Arrowverse, but I love watching The Flash, Green Arrow, all those other shows and everything like that. Well, one of the things they had was the guy who played Plastic Man, technically Plastic Man, Ralph Dibny, and he ended up getting fired because of posts he made, unprofessional posts, I'll leave it at that, 10, 15 years ago. Okay, and they fired him recently because of those posts that he made 10, 15 years ago. However, Black Lightning has an antagonist that is constantly using racial slurs and this and that, but it's also written into the script. So you're going to judge a person from what they said 10 years ago, not knowing what their beliefs are now, or if they've changed, or if they've grown in their opinions, and you're writing stuff that's 100% more offensive and saying, well, we're not going to be the moral judges of it. Our moral judges says you can't be involved anymore because of this thing you said 10 years ago, but I'm going to say this today and still get away with it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the line in the sand is there as far as how many number of years we're allowed to go back and dig up stuff about people, because I fully agree with you on that. People do change. I know even for myself, I'm not the same person I was in 2019. So I know people are capable of change on deep and profound levels. So, but there is an accountability as well, because I wholeheartedly agree that if you are signed on to a project in the here and now, you mind your P's and Q's, just like us Joe Schmoes do at our 9 to 5s, because there's corporate mandates and corporate rules, and this is what you have to do, and this is when you have to clock in, this is when you have to clock out. You can't start political stuff with your co-workers. By the same token, I don't care that you're making millions of dollars and you've got millions of people that want to watch your every move. Stop using that platform to express your personal stuff. That's not the place for it.
Yeah, there's several public figures that have become so vitriolic over the last, I don't know, 6 to 12 years of their opinions. It's hard to separate their personal opinions from their artwork now, and it's it breaks the illusion, and it's an unfortunate side effect of being so vitriolic, and we're all guilty of that to some form, because we all divide ourselves, even in subjects that we like. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I don't like episodes 8 and 9. That's my opinion. If somebody else loves them, hey, more power to you. I'm not going to tell you can't. And it comes down to that with all things. When it's an opinion, and those opinions have been presented as fact. And now, granted, a lot of opinions are based on facts, but again, it's perspective. And we all have our own moral allowances, but in the end, it's like you're saying, it's the integrity. Did I say this? Yes. Am I proud of it? Not necessarily. Or yes, I am.
Right.
Do I still feel that way now? No or yes. It's owning what you did, and that's okay. And it's okay to continue those differing opinions as long as we're not fighting over it. And I don't mean just an argument or a debate. I mean, people are just getting nasty with it. And that right there is why I try to keep it out of the games.
Well, look at today. Look at the 80s movies. Okay, 80s comedy movies are a perfect example of what's going on, and how things in the past should just stay in the past and not judgy. Because if you look at like Revenge of the Nerds and American,
that's not what a nerd is.
American Pie, and those kind of movies where yes, there's a lot of sexual innuendos, there's a lot of creepy things that go on in those movies, and if you judge that actor in today's world, a lot of those actors that were in those projects will not sign on to another project similar to that, because they realize, because of the change in a lot of people's attitudes and knowledge, and people looking at things with more of a fine-tooth comb, that they're not going to want to go back to those particular projects. Now, if you're going to sign someone on, are you going to hold them responsible for the past project?
Yeah, stuff like that should also be written into the contract too. If you're savvy as an actor and have a good representative, like I cannot be held accountable for things from 2006 from my MySpace account that I haven't activated in 13 years. And it's 1 second. It's very true as far as leaving things in the past and not signing on to projects that resemble that in the here and now. I just watched the Saved by the Bell episode where Zach Morris is doing the class project on his ancestors and discovers that he's part Native American. And he comes in all dressed up in the getup and all that, and he himself has said that there were parts of that episode that he looks back at now and just cringes. There's parts of it that were meant and still do to an extent honor that lineage that they're trying to present, but there's other parts that are definitely just like, oh goodness, did they really do that? But it's not 1991 anymore, so I don't harass Mark Paul Gosselaar on his Facebook page and be like, dude, how dare you, man? You need to be held accountable. It's just doubly depressing for me because so much of the political strife seems to be centered on Disney right now, which, for better or for worse, is the entity that owns Marvel and Star Wars. And Star Wars has always been my biggest fan favorite, but I've always been an avid reader of Marvel Comics as well, and during the 80s and 90s wanting to see those movies brought to life, and only getting the Superman movies, which were good for their day, and the Batman movies, likewise, but it wasn't until 2000 that we got X-Men, and it's been building up, and finally there's this momentum where people who never watched or never read comic books or were into them are now fans because of the movies. So it's created this whole group of this whole fandom that has radically different opinions than the fandom used to, because we're now drawing in people from everywhere, and all of the political stuff is also coming up at the same time, so it's fracturing things even further, unfortunately.
Well, also another one of our Facebook responses from Jack Leopold. Absolutely. So it's a little different than what we've been talking about. Absolutely. Games like D&D are an excellent forum for challenging your perspectives on real-world things. Art is the mirror that we hold up to society, right? And the most interesting stories are the ones that have real-world parallels, in my opinion. Now, that's all very different from trying to incorporate partisanship or stupid issue debates in the media that the media recycles. But playing a character who is a civilian survivor of that world's paramilitary invasion force, there's an interesting character and story in there.
Oh, for sure. I feel like he concised my thing down in some respect there, as far as Civil War, World War II, World War I. You want to draw aspects from that, maybe not necessarily model your character after Donald Trump or somebody that hates Donald Trump. Just anything in the here and now you probably don't want to bring into your game. I think most people are unanimous on that, and Jack is definitely... He embraces more of the political aspect, because I know that's a big part of his life, and he enjoys playing with the mental side of the character more than the physical sometimes and the mechanical, so I can respect that for sure. How about you, Justin? You got anything else to add to this?
We also have a response from James Bolello, but I think Justin was just about to say something, so let's let you go first.
I didn't have much to say. I pretty much said what I was going to say, but yeah, like I said, I agree with both not doing it, especially know your players, basically, is what it comes down to. If they don't really want to do it, or you think there's too many different opinions, don't bring it in. If your group's all on the same page and they all want to do something like that, then go ahead and do it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, remember when
and
we played...
James puts in...
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no problem. James puts in, I personally avoid the majority of real-world politics in my games. Role-playing, for many, is a way for people to escape stress, drama, and anxiety that are often associated with politics.
Yeah, and I mean, one political thing that I think anybody that I've ever gamed with would all be on the same page on, and we were, was our New Evolution campaign, the superheroes in 1999, and of course, because we're playing at that time, a lot of people started getting the idea into their head as we crossed into 2000. They're like, wait a minute, what about 9/11? That's coming up pretty soon. And we had an opportunity to actually play that out in the context of the superhero game. And your characters, I mean, superheroes versus terrorists, I'm sorry, there was no contest. And it was an ideal ending that your characters and players that were controlling them were all very satisfied with. That was one political thing that was like, everybody was like, well, yeah, I'm on board.
Well, it's the same thing, too, when you look at, Superman and Wonder Woman versus the Nazis way back in the 1940s and such and stuff like that, where the characters were designed to take on the bad guys from wherever they were created.
Oh, yeah. And just like the Star Wars question from last week and the favorite movies from the week before, this is one that we could easily spend another 90 minutes, 2 hours on. I don't think we had any further fan responses, or am I incorrect?
Nope, that was it. We had 3 fan responses for that.
Fantastic. And the second question was yours, Don, which, as usual, Don presents the general question to the audience, which was, what is your favorite binge-watching food? Which, I will pass that back to you, Don.
I really like, I like to eat the most healthiest of foods, like grapes freshly peeled and and apples and okay, bullshit. What I have is I usually have like pita crackers and hummus.
Nice, nice.
What
Now,
about
for
you?
me, I would definitely have a corporate sponsorship from both Chex Mix and Cheez Its. I would wear their colors and I would eat their food with a smile on my face. It's crunchy and I can't hear all the words. I'll have to rewind and rewatch, but that's okay. They're shows I want to watch anyways. As for something to drink with it, probably an Arizona tea, maybe a Dr. Pepper if I'm feeling real crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you never see me really eat during the course of the games, and that's largely because my favorite snack food are gummy treats. Anything that's jelly bean, gummy bear, Mike and Ike's, hot tamales, and I can't run the game. Okay, so you guys, my jaw is all clenched shut from all the freaking gummy stuff, so I'm definitely fiending throughout the entire game, and I can just feel the camera shaking right here as I'm getting ready to finish up the game, and then I just run right out in the living room and I pound a box of Mike and Ike's.
What about you, Justin?
Oddly enough, like if I'm binge watching shows or anything, I usually don't have anything to eat. I'll have my big cup of water, and that's about it. I'm kind of boring, actually.
And that's why Justin still weighs 92 pounds, the same weight as when I met him.
And here I am at 300 pounds.
Oh yeah, we've all
Of
taken
course,
the weight.
I'm a foodie.
Yeah, we all took the weight that Justin theoretically could have gained, and we split it amongst ourselves and like fought over it. Like, no, this is ours.
And then from Facebook, Gail puts in, I have a lot of snacking foods I enjoy while watching TV. And a lot of, and I can say from his first-hand experience, watching her, she really loves the barbecue chips. And barbecue chips, I mean, the flavor of those things, even just walking in and watching her watch something while eating the chips, the smell of the chips are just awesome. I just love that. Jack Leopold is, I don't know, whatever bag of chips is handy. And in this one also, James Bolello, it's either cheese fries with bacon or nachos.
Real food.
You can never go wrong with bacon on anything.
No, the Church of Bacon approves.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
And pineapple does belong on pizza. I know I'm causing some terror in some people over here, but pineapple does belong on pizza.
Not me. I was born in Maunawili, Hawaii. I freaking had a pineapple slice of pizza in my hand as I was coming out the womb.
I'm not going to ask how it got there.
Well, the doctor had it in his hand, and he needed to frickin' do his work, and I was the only one with a free pair of hands, so he just gave it to me while he finished up his stuff, and delicious. Now, Valtheris...
I'm indifferent on that subject. I don't care.
Valtheris, in our chat room over here, how do you feel about the politics integration into games or entertainment, and likewise your favorite binge watching food?
And just remember too is that for some reason the labs will not let you type like lots and lots of stuff, so you may have to break a response down into smaller chunks for the screen labs to actually use it.
Yeah,
Maybe we should
very
make
true.
that as a public announcement at the very beginning. Hi, if you would like to interact with us, please feel free to use our chat. However, naughty words and Streamlabs don't mix.
Right. Well, the thing is I took Johansson's advice on using the auto moderator for the Streamlabs here, and what it has done is enforced things extremely to the point that unless you're reciting the alphabet one letter at a time, it pretty much bans anything you say. So that's really something I just need to go back and undo, but it's been months since I set it up, and every week it's like, oh crap, somebody got shut off, oh crap, somebody got shut off, and I keep forgetting to just turn that off and let people post what they want to post. The only people here are people that we want. It's not like we have any spammers that are hanging out waiting to post stuff. But while Valtheris is potentially posting answers there, what is our third question there from you, Jason?
Okay, so I don't remember how it was written, but I'm kind of paraphrasing it. My question, and I've asked this question to other gamers and DMs as well. How do you deal with adult situations, be it bedroom situations, language, gore, blood and guts? You know, if you're kind of working on a sliding tier from Lord of the Rings to Game of Thrones to Caligula, you know, where do you fall?
For myself, I definitely lean more towards the Lord of the Rings side of things, if even that much. I'm just uncomfortable in general watching people try to flirt with each other. I'm uncomfortable with people watching me try to flirt with somebody else. We're not professional actors. We don't have 6 takes to get it done. So why some players feel the need to integrate that level of plot into the games, I don't fully understand, but as long as they're having fun and it's not causing a disruption to the rest of the group, I'm fine with it. We've had one player who frequently does it in every campaign we play, and he seems to have struck a good balance with it. It's just something that comes up a little more than I'm comfortable with. But it seems to work well enough for the rest of the group. Game of Thrones, hella fun to watch, not something any group wants to play, because I don't think role-playing games in general are based on a system of fail 15 times to succeed once, and that's Game of Thrones. But it's a joy to watch, it's not a joy to play.
How about you, Don?
I also kind of agree with that because, you know, everybody has to be comfortable with it. Not just the 2 participants, you know, whoever, but everybody watching and surrounding it. And yes, an emotional attachment makes a great story. But going into the details of how I'm doing X, Y, and Z to your character and back and forth, it sort of, we become voyeurs to something that we most likely don't want to. And I remember one time in Dan's game where I was playing the Bard, and it's like, yeah, he was a horn dog, but nothing ever happened on camera. Everything was always back behind the scenes. It was quick. It was like, hey, you take the lady up to your room, you pass out, she steals all your stuff, and now you're running down the street, you know, in your underwear, trying to chase her down,
and that's how the Lumen were introduced to
NPCs.
Enemir. Jason was, I think that was before even Jason jumped into Enemir as Django, because that was while they were on their way up to where Django was introduced.
I remember that game.
Oh yeah,
Well, that's the
good
thing
stuff.
too, is that, you know, sometimes, I mean, because we've seen it a little bit, you know, once in a while, depending on who we're playing with and everything, where it's like you will have one of the guy characters flirting with one of the girl characters, and to me, you know, it's uncomfortable not knowing if both of them are okay with it, or if one
Yeah.
guy is just using it as a doorway
Oh,
to
for sure.
do that, you know.
Yeah, and I had to instill a rule with some of that at one point because there was a large amount of dialogue that was taking place, as I deemed it, out of game. Because as far as I'm concerned, I see all. There is nothing that you can do as a player, there's nothing you can think that I do not have privy access to. If I ask you what your character's thinking, you tell me, because you don't know, I might have somebody that can read your thoughts. So when this player told me that he and the female player had been role-playing for several weeks and they had developed this idea and this plot, and I just essentially told him none of that happened. I don't have access to any of those transcripts, any of that dialogue that you guys wrote. None of it happened. You guys can't just go out and create plot like that and bring it to me. And that may sound a little harsh. I don't want to fully get into the details of what the specific plot was that was being presented. Just suffice it to say it was a further degree of that discomfort of watching 2 players flirt with each other.
Well, to bring a real life scenario into it, way back when I was in college, I had a girlfriend at the time, and we met this guy, and he was a dungeon master, and we ended up with this group of like 5 or 6 of us, and he liked my girlfriend. So as the dungeon master, he would create all of these situations to make, and send NPCs in to flirt with her,
Oh, man.
to, this or that, but he was using it as a catalyst for himself while I'm sitting there. And all these bad things would happen to my character. It's like, I'm checking this chest for traps. Okay, roll for it. Great, I have a natural 20. Oh, you don't find any traps. I open the trap, boom, it explodes in my face. Like, how did that happen? Oh, well, you just didn't describe exactly where you were looking, or something like that. You throw like one of those things out there to make my character look bad and make him look good. Eventually, it did work, and she ended up breaking up with me and going with him and the whole thing caboodle. But, that was his catalyst to try to steal her.
Wow. That is a depth of depravity that I have not yet seen in the context of a tabletop role-playing game.
See, and the point that brings this up for me is in 3.5. They had the book of exotic something or other. I can't remember the full title, but it gives rules for all kinds of things that are going on, and unusual spells that deal with the sexual situations. But I'm not talking about just the bedroom activities. I'm also talking about levels of R-rated gore and descriptions. Where do you draw the line? Are you just reading the room, or do you have your personal limits when it comes to the blood and guts and the language as well?
That's really, it kind of fluctuates, because I play so much of the GM role just kind of shooting from the hip, that a lot of times, due to that nature, certain things just kind of fall through the cracks. So there are times when we're in the middle of combat, and when it's the 5th or 6th round, I'm not describing the damage the monsters are taking maybe as violently or as much detail as I was in round 1. It's just like, okay, you did 7 points of damage, and that's the end of that guy, and he's out of here. But in the first round or something, it might be like, all right, you impale him with your blade, or you've rolled a natural 20 and you've decapitated the villain, and the head goes flying off over there. And a lot of it depends on the setting that I'm playing as well. Like D&D, superheroes, and Star Wars, I tend to run pretty close to their factual counterparts. I keep the gore pretty low. Agent Orange, Zombie Apocalypse, it's a free-for-all, because it's a horror-themed story, and because I am a horror fan, especially of zombies, I am going to get into great detail on when that zombie bites you right here, and the sound and the pain and the feeling and just everything that goes along with that. Matt Graybill, you remember that?
The other thing too is it depends on what character I'm playing. Like Celestial, the paladin. I don't describe a lot of his hits or a lot of his gore or a lot of his attacks, because he's a good character and it's angelic and he's just fighting because he needs to. But when I play Denshar, I would describe the assassinations in complete detail and total the whole plan, the whole plot, the whole, all the dirty little things involved, because he was doing assassinations, he was doing evil, and to show that he was evil, that's where a lot of the gore and stuff came in from his character.
Oh yeah, and
so a lot of the stuff that you do is based on between a PG-13 grit to a hard R grit, depending on any of these adult situations.
For sure, and a lot of that needs to be specified, I've found, before taking the party into the world. Not just to prepare the party, but as I've learned, the most horrible way to prepare the DM. My poor self, after having to experience that nonsense with the evil campaign I ran in Homeland way back in the day. God bless him and rest in peace, our dear friend Darren. But when he got his hands on that book of Exalted Deeds and the book of Vile Darkness, and I think it was in one of those books that had all the stuff you were talking about, I think it was the Exalted Deeds that talked about some of the sex stuff, and even in the Vile Darkness they talk about the other side of it. But I said, well, I just want you guys to play an evil party, thinking I'm creating a group of villains that the hero characters will later on be able to finish off. Not knowing that in the first session we're going to be dealing with R++ ratings of sequences involving rape, which is just a severe no for me. Like, I do not like seeing that in any context. I don't even like hearing about it in TV shows. I watch a lot of Disappeared and CSI and Forensic Files and things, so there's a lot of that context, but it tends to be very just matter of fact. This is what happened to the victim, whereas when this happened in this Evil campaign, I think I was just frozen with terror. Like, I was literally feeling what this NPC was feeling, to the point where after a few minutes I was like, I don't think I can continue this game with you guys. I can't do this.
It's like the difference between watching Forensic Files, which I can actually fall asleep to, as opposed to watching the 1980s Faces of Death series.
Right? Yep.
Yeah. What about you, Justin?
Well, much like the political one, you do have to read your players, kind of know what they're up to, what they want to do, what they're willing to endure, and all that stuff. But basically, I keep things basically PG-13. Language is never easy for me to censor, so language is a free-for-all. I don't really care what you say, because I don't really watch what I say. But as far as sexual or gory situations, again, it really depends on the type of game that people want to play. I'm not real comfortable with doing a lot of sexual stuff, especially descriptions. I just don't see the need for that in a role-playing game. But like Dan said, with the gore, depending on the type of game you're playing, yeah, I might, as a DM, get real descriptive on some stuff if I really want you to realize we are in trouble here. Things are getting bad.
I know that we often play a lot of games where we like to see continuations of a family line. So a lot of those bedroom situations always either have a fade to black situation or happen off camera. For example, Han Solo and Princess Leia, we know they did it. They had children later in what's now called the Legacy or whatever the hell they did with all that stuff. But, but we know it happens. So when you get to that point in your game, it's almost a crap. What do I do? And a lot of the, especially new dungeon masters, don't know what to do when these situations happen. So it's such a strong subject that most people don't think about, and it's come up in my mind a lot. It's like, crap, what do I do? Because where do we go from here? And it's the same thing with the blood and gore. I'd like to have a grittier game, but how far is too far?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, because in one of Dan's games, I was playing Wilton, which was a gnome who was actually married to an NPC.
Mm-hmm.
And so, he'd go off on adventures, and when he comes back, we never went into complete detail or anything like that, because it didn't need to be said of what happens when Wilton and his lady love get back together at the castle after him being gone for a long time. So all of that was, background, backstage, and such. And then in the new iteration of the campaign, they end up with 2 children. So you can connect the dots without having to see all the dots being put into place.
Oh yeah, I liked how Justin and Ben did it during the Prosperity campaign, because Justin was playing a female elf wizard and Ben was playing a male elf archer, and we had a few periods in the campaign where there were just large gaps of time that were passing by, and they just decided during one of those gaps of time that our characters have gotten married, they've established this academy together, they are having children, and that's all we needed to know. Or in the original Clone Wars cartoon, I think Genndy Tartakovsky did it best when Anakin lands from a battle in the Clone Wars and he approaches Padme and he's got the new scar on his face, and she just looks at him with shock and takes his hand, and you see them walking off, and then they show a long distance shot of the city, and there's one building with a light on, and the light turns off. And everybody knows that's where Luke and Leia come from. That's all you need.
And from our Facebook page, Gail put in that she doesn't run any campaigns, so it really didn't. That kind of a question really didn't apply. However, Jack put in, sex is always off-screen narration. If that's what you want your characters to be doing, fine. But we're not going to role-play it out. There are some themes I try to stay away from. Things like rape or infanticide. Sure, those things might exist in my world, but we're not going to focus on them and tell stories that include that level of dark.
Right.
See,
And
and
then,
there
of course-
again, you've got those personal levels. It's like when you're running the game, he's established this is a limit that we won't. We're not crossing this line. We know that they exist, but we're not going to describe it or be in the middle of a situation where we see it. You have a movie where this particular scene is important to the plot. Do we show it or do we insinuate it off camera? Where's your level of grit? And he's established his line. We're not going to deal with these things, and that's okay. And that's where I'm asking this question, because it's such an amorphous thing, and everybody has so many different opinions on it. And some game groups get real personal, and a lot of the newer things, when you have 2 or 3 couples and they're comfortable with describing all of this stuff and dealing with all of these situations, hey, more power to you. If that's how you have fun when you play, great.
Well, and also James puts in, I'm good with some adult themes in games, but not the graphic descriptions of them. Some people have gone overboard with graphic descriptions of sexual topics or scenes, and I am more often just weirded out by them. Not because I'm uncomfortable with sex, just the odd or extreme ways that players and storytellers share them. Now, also, and it brings up to our Facebook page a little bit, is that I put a disclaimer up there the other day, because we do get some role players who come in who their role-playing game is all adult content, and we, as Role-Playing Unlimited, do not take any responsibility for that. We're not going to censor them.
Right.
If it gets way out of hand, if they put in there, hey, I'm looking to do X, Y, and Z with someone, we'll dump that like a hot potato. But if you say, hey, I'm putting together an erotic role-playing group, if you're comfortable with that, feel free to join them. None of us will probably be there. If that's something that's in your comfort level, you just don't come back out to us later and say, hey, dudes, because I saw this on your site, you're not responsible for me being weirded out. It's like, no. You took the initiative. You took the choice. So
No. You didn't see it on my site. You didn't see it on my site. You saw it on Facebook, and I am not Mark Zuckerberg. I'm cool with all the role-playing groups that want to join and use our platform as a filter for their own stuff, and we're pretty clear about what we are and what we are not up front. If you want to put together a romantic or even semi-erotic roleplay, that's fine. Build your own group out of that. As Don said, we are not likely to join you, but this is also not something that we are taking responsibility for, because none of us have any part of that. You can easily post that anywhere on any social media site and find people. So, as usual, take accountability for your own actions. Hey, Valtheris, done with school. Welcome back. We are getting near the end of our show here, but we did have the 3 questions for tonight, one of which we spent a good amount of time on was, do you allow real-world politics to interfere with your gaming and or entertainment? And our second question, what is your favorite binge-watching food? And our third was Jason's question as far as gore and adult situations. What is your comfort level with having all of that in there?
Now, should we do a little preview of what our next week's questions are going to be?
Well, we can, but I think in Jason and I's cases, we're going to have to kind of wing it, because we haven't really developed anything yet. But if you've got a question, fire away.
Well, because one of the things is that there was this really cool show way back when. It was called Beat the Geeks, and basically it featured normal people versus these geeks. And there was the comic geek, there was the music geek, there was the football geek, there was, so geek being your area of knowledge or your area of expertise. And I know that we all have our own little areas of expertise. And I was just kind of curious as to what other people would classify as their geeks.
Okay, very cool. I like that one. Do you have an idea for a question, Jason, or are you going to need some time to marinate on that? I may need time to marinate, or I may have something pop up here in the next few minutes, so I'll pause and think about it.
I've actually had a question in my mind, but since somebody asked me to ask my question, I can't remember it. It's that CRS disease. Can't remember shit. So give me a little time to marinate, and I will have a properly worded question.
I think I will also be in that category as well. I don't really have anything off the top of my head just yet, but it may be something Star Wars themed. Just looking over at this massive bookshelf here next to me, and we are getting ready to come back to our Ultimate Star Wars campaign, so I'm kind of leaving a little bit of those as breadcrumbs to lead us into it. But as for right now, I don't really have anything specific.
I'm kind of wondering though. We used to have our board game nights, okay? And I used to love it when we would all get together and play our board games and everything like that. And there was this one game we would never ever play, and that's Star Wars trivia. And because, Dan, I know your geek is Star Wars. And
absolutely.
What really sucks is trying to play Star Wars trivia, and as soon as it's Dan's turn, he would just answer every single question.
Oh, heaven help all the players if I get the first turn, because nobody else gets a turn at all. I just answer every question and put a piece of pie in here and there until I've got all 6 of them in Trivial Pursuit. Oh, yeah!
What if, either next week or the week after or something like that, we have like a couple people on Discord voice who will actually play a Star Wars trivia against you. So they'll get more basic questions, but you'll get the really hard and really advanced questions, and see if you can take on regular people when it comes to Star Wars.
Challenge accepted.
So what we'll have to do is we'll have to build it up on our Facebook page. Anybody who's watching this right now, if you want to be a part of this, let us know. See what we can do about setting up a Discord voice for you to be a participant in this. But testing your Star Wars knowledge versus Dan's Star Wars knowledge.
Oh man, maybe my question will be, is there anyone alive who can beat me at Star Wars trivia? Maybe Pablo Hidalgo. I bet he could beat me.
I don't know. He's gone. He's got some unusual new stuff coming out. So they're kind of changing lore. So he's kind of lost a little bit of what his old standing used to be.
Interesting. Maybe they need a new chronicler. I'm available, Disney. I'm your man.
By the way, just looking over at our chat on the side, I know we can see the chat in there, but it may not be so easy for other people to read. Valtheris was bringing up some very excellent points while we were doing our little discussion here. And Valtheris, great going to school. That's awesome. And it's basically rye chips and his binge watching food, or their binge watching food, and semi-ERP and adult stuff. I don't mind, just don't expect me to get super into it. But he also brings up an awesome point here. Mostly role-playing with adults. So at OFC, if anyone is underage in the group, then it's a hard no.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you definitely don't need any of that, especially if you've got underage people in the group. I feel terrible for anybody that's growing up over the last 20 years. I just cannot imagine being in middle school or high school and having social media, because our brains are not hardwired to accept that amount of praise or rejection. I mean, our brains are hardwired to have a small group of close confidants that we can work with, and that's why I've been rolling with the same people for 20 years, because I know who I can trust, and I'm not trying to be in that frame where I've got 1,000 people that can bring me up and bring me down. And I just can't imagine being a kid and having that kind of just pressure on yourself to everybody's always looking at everything you do. I can't imagine.
I mean, because we all know that anything posted, about our show, any comments about our show, hey, Evil Don, is, hey, you're looking fatter on camera than you normally do, or anything else like that. We understand that, we're looking for the critique for our show to improve it, or, the good, the bad, we're putting ourselves out there for it. But in our personal lives, when you're dealing with personal people, when they attack you, that's where it hurts.
Yeah, and that leads into two of the three questions of tonight. You've got two very personal and deep questions, for an individual's own moral and integrity standards. Where's your line? And what we I'm almost stuttering because there's so much to say about it. Like Dan said, we could spend another 2-3 hours on any one of these subjects.
Absolutely.
Not the snack food, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for myself, my question was derived from less than 24 hours just being on different Star Wars fan pages and trying to find funny memes to forward to our Star Wars What If and our Role Playing Unlimited fan pages. And in the context, just seeing how angry people still are about Star Wars. It's like, if you're angry about it, why are you here? I have long since gotten past the point, and I think everybody should maybe look at this if you consider yourself a Star Wars fan. If you don't like anything after 1999, you might not be a Star Wars fan. You might like 77 to 83. That's not Star Wars anymore. We've had 40 years past that to evolve the franchise and evolve the stories and add new characters in. You're a fan of these movies, but stop trying to tell us that the last 40 years are wrong because of this 5 years that you lived in your childhood. That ain't life anymore, bro. Or sis.
Yep, and Valtheris is out there, it's just like their art. They said, quote, I put out there to get input. Most of the time it's good feedback. It helps to become a better artist in these times.
Yeah, absolutely. Great points there, and you got to take the constructive criticism along with the praise, and hopefully use that to build yourself into something better. And it's great if you're getting a lot of good feedback as well, because that means you're already ahead of the ball.
I'm actually thinking, with our current setup and everything, because we were able to bring Justin in on voice only, and it really didn't, change a lot of our stuff. If we could bring in some additional people, maybe like Valtheris as a special voice guest, and also Tink, because Tink is also very active with our group, and isn't Tink like our 30th Twitch follower?
Yeah, we hit lucky 30 today, or yesterday actually, thanks to you, Tink. And looks like we just passed our...
This is something that we could... Okay, well, this is something that, we could do to, or even, like Justin was a special guest on for today, bring in a single special guest at a time, or bring in multiple people. You know what? This is a great venue. This is a great opportunity for us to present a product like this. And hopefully, Dan, you can figure out something to help make this all come to fruition.
Yeah, it's working, and I'm having fun just doing it as it is. I mean, after we finished the session last night, I think Jason and I just sat for another 90 minutes, 2 hours, just bouncing back and forth, talking about anything and everything that came to mind in regarding the session that we had just played, ideas that we have going forward, this upcoming Star Wars campaign, and I just thought, man, we should have been streaming this because we had a lot of good stuff going on there too, and this here is just a continuation of that. We're just shooting the breeze about anything and everything. We have a bit of a structure as far as the 3 questions, but anything beyond that is just whatever. I had a great time tonight, fellas. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Evil Dawn, for joining in as usual for our co-hosts, and thank you there, J-Man himself, Justin, joining us as the disembodied voice in the background. He might actually be that other bald guy in the top of the stream there doing this, but he looks a little bit too much like me.
What'd you call me?
A bald guy? Thank you, Valtherus, for joining in again.
That's called Wookiee to you.
I had a good time tonight. Good discussions. Pretty deep.
Yep.
Well, I'll try and ask a lighter question this next week.
Yeah, great questions, great answers. I had a lot of fun with this. And also just make sure that you follow us on Twitch, follow us on Facebook, give us some likes, answer the questions that you want to answer, don't answer the questions you don't want to answer. Just help us become more by being more involved, and we would love to have you participate more.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of fun conversations taking place on our Facebook page. It'd be fun to transfer some of that into the live forum. I realize that schedules and what have you may prevent that from ever becoming a continuous thing, but it'd be fun if just once in a while, if you happen to have a Wednesday night off and you want to jump in for 15-20 minutes to participate on one question or two, it'd be a lot of fun to have you and meet some of our friends behind the scenes there. We are going to move over to our out-of-character after party now. I will be posting the link here in the Twitch chat log for any who wish to follow us, and we will hopefully see you there. Have a good night, all.
We have to go back.